Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. Oh, it's been a Monday all day long. And it's probably going to continue to be one at least half the night. I'm in Longview, Texas, for those that want to ask. Now, I made it to the yard last night, and this morning had to get a little tire work done and get a little AC work done before I left the yard, which really sucked. It blew my day where I couldn't get this drop off. Welcome to trucking. This morning, standing around waiting on the truck, I engaged in a conversation with the owner of the company, Larry, and another truck driver. We get talking about that wreck out there in Denver and how terrible it is, 4 deaths, blah, blah, blah. The regular stuff. Well, then I think I kind of irritated the owner a little bit. I know he wasn't real crazy about my comments. Y'all know me by now. I allowed that, I thought a lot more than just that driver should be held accountable. You know? Yeah, he needs to be held accountable. No doubt about it. He killed poor people. And there wasn't no need. My understanding is he went by 2 runaway Rams. It's not good. I told these two I was talking to that I thought the truck company that hired him should be held accountable. Whoever gave him his CDL with him not being able to speak, read, understand, write English, they need to be held accountable. The school that put him through school, they obviously knew he couldn't read English. If you can't read the language of the land you're in, you don't need to be operating a commercial vehicle. Period. And that goes for us Americans. If we go to a foreign land and we can't read their signs, we don't need to operate their equipment over there. Take a damn taxi. Whatever. Now, I am told that in some countries, they give you X amount of time to learn their language and to read it enough that you can take care of stuff. And if you don't get a grasp of their... Shut up. You hear me talking? Thank you. If you can't pick up on their language enough to navigate, no job for you. Get your butt back to your country. I don't have a problem with that. My understanding is that we did have and should still have laws in this land saying that to operate a commercial vehicle, you must be able to read, speak, and understand the language enough to communicate, to read and navigate, and to be able to speak and communicate with law enforcement or whoever. And this guy obviously couldn't do it. Now, it also came to my attention in an article I was reading. The company is out of Houston. I hate to hear that. But something 03, I forget what it was. But they've had a multitude of write-ups in the last 2 years for unsafe equipment. Including, they had a write-up for one officer or one driver that could not read, speak, or understand English well enough to communicate with DOT officers. Who in the hell is dropping the ball on this? We have this nonsense that holds us accountable. That's what all this CVSA score shit was supposed to be about. So they can keep tighter rein on these outlaw companies. Keep a tighter rein on the outlaw drivers. Most of your outlaws is going back to the companies. If you find your outlaw company, you'll find your outlaw drivers. Birds of a feather. Now, I spoke to two different drivers today that both have had little incidents. Well, no. One had a little incident backing into a dock, and he mashed a pole. It's not a big deal. $100, couple $100 to replace a pole. It was a guardrail pole. You know how you back down into one of them docks and then they got the guardrails to keep people from walking into this big open pit? Well, he bent one of those. It ain't a big deal. It's trucking. It happens. But now he was accountable. He owned up to it at that place and with his company. It's not being made a big ordeal. Point is, he held himself accountable. He didn't try to lie out of it, deny it, or anything else. Yeah, I hit your damn pole. I bent it. We got good insurance. Somebody will fix it, but it ain't me. The other driver I spoke to, about a little over a month ago, he got distracted while he was driving. He ain't a rookie. He's got 9 years under his belt, so he's not a rookie by no means. And I had heard about the incident. And when I got the opportunity to talk to him about it, I said, would you tell me what happened? That way I ain't getting he said, she said, scuttlebutt. And he told me, Papa Joe, he says, I knew I was coming onto a bridge, typical bridge, you know, regular highway bridge, no big one or nothing like that, just a little BS bridge. He said, I looked in my right mirror and checked everything. Looked in my left mirror, it looked good. I checked the traffic just in case I had to go over something. He says, I go to turn back around and something caught my attention and it distracted me for an extra second or two. When I looked up, I was hitting the guardrail. It ripped his side tank open, fuel tank, and the truck burned to the ground. They saved the freight and all that, but still. And he told me, he says, it was all my fault, 100% my fault. He says, I've never tried to deny it. He's still driving for the same company. Surprised me, the insurance let him, which I voiced. And he said that the company had told him the same thing, is that if the insurance will approve of you and let you continue, you still have your job. It's all up to the insurance. Within 24 hours, the insurance had said, yes, he's good to go. So, now he held himself accountable. He didn't try to deny it or nothing else. The whole point of me pointing out these two incidents, accidents, whatever you want to call them, is the drivers were held accountable, and they held themselves accountable. They stepped up and said, I did it. It was all me. When are we going to get these damn companies held to the same standard? That's something you've heard me bitching about for a while out here, is that we as truck drivers are held to a standard and held accountable. Everybody else in our industry can drop the ball, and we're supposed to be okay with it. If you've got an appointment and they screwed up, their machines broke, whatever, and now you're being held there for a long time, 2, 3, 4 hours, you're not supposed to get mad. You're not supposed to hold them accountable. Same thing, shipping, receiving, dispatchers. They know that I'm going to be empty in Houston tomorrow, which they already have me a load, but if they didn't have me a load and have it ready for me when I get empty, I'm not supposed to hold them accountable and jump their ass. There's not supposed to be consequences for anybody else not doing their job except you and I. And it's wrong. And it needs changed. Period. It needs changed. So I made the comment to Larry today that I thought the company should be held accountable. I thought the school should be held accountable. I thought whoever passed him on his CDL test, that was a state official, they should be held accountable. A lot of people should be held accountable in the deaths of them 4 people. It was not just the driver. He was the instrument. But if any of these other people had did their job, he wouldn't have been out there in that truck. If you and I are in an accident, they go over our logs, they want to go over our phones, they put everything about us under a microscope, and they try to figure out, look, 6 months ago you didn't take your whole 30-minute break. If you took that whole 30-minute break, you wouldn't have been here today, so you couldn't have been in that wreck. It's your fault, driver. Why ain't they doing that with these companies? If any of these people, the company, the trainer, the school, the official that tested him, if any of them had did their job, he wouldn't have been there. Put your microscope on that. Don't put it on just that driver. Put it on who put him in the truck. How did he get in that truck? It has nothing to do with him being an alien, a non-U.S. resident. He was here legally. Period. He was doing it legal until it came to the job. And then it's a far cry more than just him that is responsible for him being in that truck. The individual that I was talking to that had his truck burnt down, he told me what aggravated him is when he talked to safety. Safety seen he was on his phone. He was on a hands-free, but he was on his phone. They automatically wanted to say that was the fault. And he said, no, it ain't. I talk on the phone all the time. I don't wreck all the time. Well, that's what distracted you. No, it ain't. The phone had nothing to do with it. So they wanted to examine his phone record. He allowed it. And I'll tell you now, folks, if it ever comes down on me and they want mine, I'll tell them they can look at it at the time of the incident. They don't need to go no farther back or nothing else. No. I'll authorize you to look at it at the accident. They examined his all the way back to that morning. He had already been driving a few hours. He didn't say how long. But they seen that 8 minutes after he started driving, he sent a text. Oh, my Lord, what are you doing? Texting and driving. Now they got him. And he said, no, you don't. He says, I do it through my headset. You what? He says, I push this little button up here and I say, send text to Papa Joe. And then I would tell him what I wanted to say. And no, that wasn't it, but you can do that? He said, yeah. Would you care to show me how? So he did it. Had him send a message to his safety. You're in safety and you don't know this? Really? So they forced him to sign a paper. It's either sign the paper or lose his job. He can only talk on his phone for 1 hour during that 11-hour shift or 14-hour shift. And no more than 10 minutes at a time. Really? I've done, I don't know how many hours I have done on the phone while I was driving. Trying to see what somebody's doing over here. It looks, they're in the dark, but trying to see what they're doing. Oh, he's messing with his car or something. But now he can only talk for 10 minutes at a time and no more than an hour a day while he's on duty. Really. I would have issues with that. Because I talk a lot more than that. And I said, that sounds like a damn Walmart job. With my understanding, Walmart's got about the same rules. I told him, I said, what bothers me, I said, is you had the accident. You screwed up. You admitted it. He's like, yeah. I said, now your company is going to implement those same policies that they just put on you. That little paper they had you sign is going to become a company policy, and now that'll be spread throughout your company. Once again, you watch, mark my words, one person screwed up, so they're going to try to punish all of them. How's that right? That goes into some of my politics that I talk about. You know, one Muslim can blow up a whole bunch of people. And you're told, do not judge all Muslims by that one. However, let one person...
Turn right on Perry Street and then make a U-turn if possible in 250 feet.
There. We let one person go nuts and shoot a bunch of people with a gun, and it's the gun's fault, and we need to punish all gun owners. Let one truck driver screw up, and we need to punish all truck drivers. Really? And how long are we going to take this nonsense, people? How long are we going to be held accountable? But not the companies that we work for, not the industry itself and all branches of that industry. It's wrong. The deaths were bad enough. Alright? But if this guy takes the whole fall by himself, it's wrong. Heads should roll. There should be an investigation that nails that company. There should be an investigation that nails whoever gave him his CDLs. Y'all remember the Swift deal, the Swift school deal? Some of y'all wasn't around then. Swift, several years ago, got busted. I think it was their Memphis school. They got busted. They had their own state officials that was passing people left and right. And it opened up into a big nationwide investigation. And they had people out of Chicago that had been buying their CDLs, is what it boils down to. And there was a whole lot of people. Hell, this was what, in the mid-90s? I think. Including the guy I drove for, my boss. He had his CDL, and he lived up by Chicago. And he happened to have got his license in one of these offices, not the school, in the state offices, where they had been found guilty of selling license. He had to go back and retake his whole license. And we're talking about people that had been driving for 10 and 15 plus years. And they had to go back. We need another investigation like that on this incident, this accident, and heads need to roll and some shit needs to change. And they need to quit concentrating on us out here and look at the powers to be. That's my thoughts on it. Had to get it out. Accountability. It's for more than just the truck driver. Y'all remember, God loves you. So do I. Y'all have a blessed evening now. Bye.